Gentlemen, let's, without knowing or reading the word Bikurim, this mitzvah appears in the book of Shemot with different words, Chag Bikurim. But here Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us in a lengthy way with a lot of values and important understandings and halachot of this very apparently important mitzvah, because it seems to be a central subject here. So after raising these wonderful questions of the first few psukim, let's now go back and begin answering. Okay? Vaya ki tavo el haaretz. The Talmud says v'haya is lashon simcha, whereas the opposite, and it was, vayihi, is sorrow. Like the Megillat Achashverosh opens up with the word vayihi b'mei Achashverosh. V'haya is the future to refer to time of happiness. Obviously, it's related to coming of the land. When you come to the land, there has to be happiness, like I see in the happy faces of all of you sitting here. Okay, which land? Asher Hashem Elokecha noten lecha. We asked the question, why in the present tense? We basically answered it that the gift, noten, matana, gift, is an everlasting, ongoing value. Okay? He's trying to get your attention, sir. Okay? It's an everlasting, make it more straight, he's saying. Or I can lean my body the other way. Okay. No, the actual phone. You know, I get I'll get a neck ache though for a little while. In any event, Aleph, what's being impressed here is the land of Israel has ongoing value. Notain. God is always giving it. It makes something very dynamic. The land of Israel is so special, unique, that the gift is, I'm giving it to you all the time. Wow. Imagine getting, you're hooked onto God, you're just getting this gift all the time. Wow. What influence, what affluence, what greatness, Ken? Some of you observe this unbelievable variety and quality and quantity of food for 3 meals that we had yesterday. Wow. Right? Can you imagine in the spiritual world, this affluence coming all the time, the gift of the land of Israel. So if we embrace it intellectually, understand it, wow, God is giving this gift all the time and it has so much value. And then we learned, V'yirishta v'yashavta ba, apparently this upcoming mitzvah is only applicable after conquering and allocating the land. And then the Torah says, V'lakachta, there's action, you must take. What are you going to take? Me reshit. Me reshit. We all know that the word reshit comes from the word rosh, the head, the first, the primary. And here we're talking about the first primary ripened fruits. But we don't know which fruits. So Rashi, a great educator, but also editor, he takes things that were written 1,000 years before his time, or 700 years before his time, in the halachic midrashim or the Talmud, and teaches us the following, one of the 13 principles. Some of you know it's called a gzera shava. Those that are learning Gemara or say it inside their, at the end of the korbanot, we have the 13 principles by which the written Torah interprets, deciphers the oral Torah. 13 principles. Number 1 is kal v'chomer. Number 2 is called a gzera shava. Shava is equal. Gzera is decree. What it means is there's a common word in 2 places. And whatever there is in Aleph, I bring over to Bet. 2 passages in the written Torah that have a common word. In our case, the common word is Eretz. It says, Me'artzecha, from your land. Some of us remember learning together that famous section in Dvarim that talks about a lot of praise of the land of Israel, Parashat, was it Vetchanan or Ekev? And there the Torah, it's Dvarim Chet. 1 second. Yeah, it's still Ekev. And we learned about the famous land of 7, they call it in English, species, 7 fruits of the land of Israel. This pasuk that we're about to chant or recite or read is what little children at the age of 3 know by heart here in the kindergartens. And the Torah talks about the land, chapter 8, verse 8. Where does it appear?
Chapter 8, verse 8.
In the book of? Don't always remember this for the rest of your life. 8:8. It says, Eretz chita useora. I told you I would sing it. Okay. Eretz chita useora vegefen uteina verimon. Eretz zeit shemen udvash. I called you honey. Dvash. The land of the seven fruits. The book of Devarim. Wow, you guys are really sharp. You know it by heart. So that's what they teach the kids. The land of seven fruits. Now the learning. It says there in 8:8, Eretz. It says here in our pasuk, and you shall bring the first of the fruits of the land from your land, which is Eretz, even though it says Artzecha. Okay? What there in 8:8, we're talking about the fruits of the land of Israel, namely the Shivat Aminim, the seven fruits of the land. So too here, when it says Eretz, it's referring to the seven fruits of the land. That's a demonstration of this principle called Gzeira Shava. One common word in two places. In 8:8, it's expressed, specified. Here it's not. So just like there, Eretz there is referring to the seven fruits, so to here, Eretz is referring to. That means the mitzvah we're dealing with is expressive only to. What about carrots and potatoes? What about apples and oranges? No. Only the seven fruits. Does anyone sitting here know the seven fruits by heart?
No.
You're very... No? Zachariah, let's hear it. A land of...
Hebrew and English.
Whatever you like.
Wheat, barley, dates.
The next one, do you know them in order? Eretz chita usara, you're right. And then it says gefen, which is?
Grapes, wine.
And then, number 4, te'ena. We saw them in our route yesterday. Te'ena.
Is
Figs. Okay, you ready for number 5? Rimon. It's the same thing like a what is it called in English? A grenade, thank you. Rimon. Okay? And then Eretz Zeit Shemen. The word Eretz appears twice in that pasuk. A land of what? Zeit Shemen. What is Zeit Shemen? The olives of the oil, or Zayit, okay? We saw them, Zaitim. We saw those trees a lot in yesterday's trip. And the last one we said is? Devash, which here does not mean, it does not mean bee honey, but rather it means, and dates in Hebrew are called tamar, tamarim. Okay. So by the uses of Gezerah Shavah, Rashi brings it here in verse 2. It's not every reshit, first ripened fruit, but only the 7 fruits. And they're the praise of the land of Israel. These 7 fruits grow especially well here in the land of Israel. I tell this story. It's a true story. It was the beginning of our marriage. I think my wife was pregnant with our first child. We were en route to Eilat to visit her brother, learning in a kol of Merkaz Arav in Eilat. And I had a Baal Tshuva friend that I studied with in Machon Meir years earlier. And he was living in an irreligious kibbutz. He stood his tshuva. His wife didn't want to do tshuva. And they lived a life together. He invited me to stop over and say hello. It was a kibbutz not far from Eilat. And we stopped off on the bus en route to her brother in Eilat. And he took us around the dairy farm, which is it's called Yotfata, one of the most productive dairy farms in the country. Yotfata. And then he took us on the chocolate milk line. They gave us, fresh chocolate milk. It was really nice. And then he told us, and this has to be in 85, 86, not more, that they had just signed, the kibbutz had just signed a contract to export to China dates.
Wow.
Can you imagine this little country supplying China with dates? I mean, you can't even see us on the map. I mean, you can't. And is it true that China is a little larger than Israel in landscape? You heard about that? How many times?
Thousands of times, maybe.
So this is the blessing of God to this land. that the land gives so much great produce that we could even export it to other countries. And this story is, my daughter must be like 36 already. So this story is more than 35 years ago. We started exporting to China dates, tamarim. Let's get back here. I'm sorry. I want to get back. They're going to fire me for telling stories. So far we know there's a mitzvah to take the first ripening the 7 fruits of the land. The oral Torah, we have a Mishnah, a Masechet at the end of Seder Zorim called Masechet, tractate of Bikurim. The word is or is not mentioned in the section here. For those that have read the entire section, it's not mentioned. We saw it mentioned elsewhere in the book of Shemot. The Torah complements itself, says some things here, doesn't say it there, and we learn together. This is not, we're not now on a university laboratory and cutting up and dissecting. The Torah is complete. The Torah is wholesome. We just can't be narrow-sided and just learn here. There are other things that are taught to us elsewhere. So we're going to take these Bikurim, and we're going to put them in a basket. The oral Torah teaches us in Masechet Bikurim that when you see the first fruits ripening, your first dates, your first olives, you tie like a ribbon around it, and you say, quote, Harezu Bikurim, you're giving it holiness of Bikurim, because we're going to be learning who is going to be the benefactor of these Bikurim, a Kohen. As many of you know, a Kohen does not receive choose a word from the Torah, a nachala in the land of Israel, meaning, yes, there'll be one of 48 cities he will be living in, as the Torah allocates in Vayikra and Bamidbar, 42 plus 6. Yet, he doesn't have an area which he can generate revenues in order to have a livelihood. The Torah, for that, provides a welfare system. There are 24 gifts in sum total that can be given to the Kohen. One of the 24 is called Bikurim. Bikurim. Okay, so you're going to come up to Yerushalayim. When? When? I want to answer the question. When? Skip, please, to Pasuk Yud Aleph, verse 11. At the end of this mitzvah, in Pasuk Yud Aleph, in verse 11, the Torah talks about happiness. V'samachta b'chol hatov asher natan lecha Hashem Elokecha uleveitecha ata v'levi v'hager asher b'rekebecha. From here, the oral Torah teaches us from the word v'samachta that the mitzvah is provided for, fulfilled, only in the time of simcha. What does that mean? Elsewhere we learn that Chag HaBikurim is called Chag Shavuot. Very good. The holiday of weeks. The holiday of the giving of the Torah. Correct? In the month of Sivan. Very good. So the Torah says Chag HaBikurim starts at the holiday of Shavuot and goes until the holiday of Sukkot. That is the time of Simcha. It's about, 5 months or so? Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei, and until the time of Sukkot. However, the Mishnah does say, we're about to learn in this mitzvah that there are 2 parts to the mitzvah, or remains to be investigated, are they 2 separate mitzvot? There's the mitzvah that we already seen in the text, lehavi, which means lehavi, to bring, lavo, to come, lehavi, to bring. And we're about to begin reading about a section of the mitzvah called Mikra Bikurim. Mikra Bikurim. Mr. Parlo, please spell for everyone the word Mikra. Did you hear that? Mem Kuf Reish Aleph. The nickname of Chumash is not Mishnah. That's Mishnah. That's the oral Torah. But the nickname of Chumash is Mikra. Why? Mishnah, from the word Lishanen, it's to be repeated. Say it and repeat it. Say it and repeat it. Mishnah from the word Shnayim. Oral Torah is to be repeated. It was initially given by heart and not to be written down. However, the opposite is Mikra, Chumash. Chumash is meant to likro. and therefore the nickname of Chumash is called Mikra. Mem, again, Mem. Wow, you guys are really strong. Okay, so there's a second mitzvah or a second part of the mitzvah to read Bikurim. We'll get that probably to tomorrow. Now, we're still amidst, we've answered several questions. What is the Reshit? It is the first ripened ones. Is it called Pri Adama? No, it's only the 7 fruits. And we read about the ongoing gift of God. You're going to put it in the Tana. The Mishnah in Bikurim talks about decorating the fruits. You have a basket, you have a few pomegranates there, you have a few grapes, maybe they're turned into raisins by now, and now you're going to decorate it and come up to Yerushalayim. Who cares about decorations? Come on. That's just for women, isn't it? No. What else?
Beautify the mitzvah.
Beautify the mitzvah. We want to beautify the mitzvah. I can do the mitzvah in a very, very bland, ordinary way, or I can beautify the mitzvah by decorating it. I can also use other fruits to decorate. And that's a section in the Mishnah that deals with these laws. Okay? And we talked about coming to the Beit HaMikdash and coming to the coin that's going to be in those days. And we asked the question, Lama what?
Why these days? Why?
Of course you're going to go to a coin that's alive and what are you going to dig him out of the cemetery?
What time?
So, look please together with me in Rashi, Pasuk Gimel. Ein lacha, do you see in verse 3 on the Rashi regarding this subject? Pasuk Gimel. Asher yeh b'yamim. Rashi quotes the phrase that will be in those days. And then Rashi brings a midrash, which appears in the Gemara as well. Ein lacha ella. You see 2 negatives? Ein lacha ella. Some of you guys have degrees in mathematics, so you know that a negative times a negative is a positive. Don't show off your mathematical abilities, please. Ein lacha ella. Ein is negative. Ella is rather only this, like the negative. Kohen shu b'yamecha. You only have a coin in your days. Oh, thank you, Rashi. What do you mean? Kimo shehu. Rashi didn't bring the second part. Okay. Gentlemen, I don't know why, but the second part of that midrash says the following. Listen to me, please. Yiftach bidoro kishmuel bidoro. Yiftach bidoro kishmuel bidoro. Remember the character, Yiftach?
Yes.
It's a wild cowboy.
Yes.
Was he studying Torah in the Beit Midrash every day, putting on tefillah? It doesn't look that way. He was a wild guy. Yiftach, living in the Eretz Tov, in the Giladi Mountains. Okay, and his mother was a prostitute, and so on and so forth, right? Something of that nature. But he became a leader. And he helped redeem the Jewish people and save them from the war of Ammon. Yiftach, in his generation, ke. What is the prefix ke? Like. Ke Shmuel bidoro, like Shmuel in his generation. Who was Shmuel? Don't tell me Samuel. Who was Shmuel? What kind of leader was he? He was not a Kohen Gadol. He was the last of the Shoftim, perhaps. He was in the right. What did you say? He was a great. How great a Navi was he? Like Moshe and Aaron, as King David writes an equation. Was it chapter 99? I forgot. We recited on Shabbos 98. Thank you. Moshe v'Aaron b'Kohanav u'Shmuel v'Koresh. I'm going to point you the next time to be the Chazan. So Shmuel was great, and Yiftach, he's not the type of character you want to copy or imitate, but yet Chazal looked upon him as a great scholar. This is what I received about, 15, 20 years ago from my dear father, and when I was learning this section with him. He's a great educator. Okay, look at the following situation. You walk into the Beit HaMikdash with your bikurim and decorated. And before you there, you grew up in your home, you went to yeshiva. Your grandmother told you a Kohen is a holy Jew. He has this long white beard. He has these peyot. He looks so holy and this and that. Okay, so you think of a Kohen, wow, he's like the super Jew, and he's really holy. You get to the Beit HaMikdash, and you see, and you're told, the coin's over there, and you see he's changing his cowboy boots with his cowboy hat, and he has this, really cool type of look with these Hell's Angels eyeglasses or that he's wearing, and you're saying, that's not my type of coin. And you make a U-turn and you want to go home, right? You don't want to go. That's not a coin for me. What does the Torah say?
Who's in those days?
Whoever is in those days. You have to respect the coin, who he is, because it's not him. Where does he get his greatness from?
Hashem.
We call that the kahuna. Exactly. It's the kahuna. It's not him. The fact that he, his father, and his grandfather, they all come down the line and they have the holiness of the Kohen. It doesn't matter how he dresses or how, it doesn't make him a Kohen, doesn't make him not a Kohen. And therefore, an important educational principle in the mitzvah called Bikurim that we're learning here is respect for the kahuna. Okay, write that word down, kahuna, in your notebook. Kahuna, the priesthood. Okay, the fact that he's a member of this institution, which is holy, God made it holy, has nothing to do how he looks or this. I'm just giving you a fine example that we have to give respect to the kahuna. Questions or comments? Okay. So you're coming, one last point before we break, gentlemen. This part, after bringing it, you go before the Kohen, and higaditi hayom l'Hashem Elokecha, and I offered two explanations from the Rishonim that the word lahagid can tolerate. It can either mean lahagid haggadah, to tell a story, lahagid, to tell, saper sipur, to tell a story, or it can also mean, in this case, hodeti, I'm giving thanks. I forgot exactly who says that, but it can mean giving thanks. And you're saying I'm giving thanks l'Hashem Elokecha about what? Kivati el haaretz. And we asked the question, it seems like I came. You know, it seems like you just came. Otherwise, why would you use the word? Liar! Your grandfather's been here, your great-grandfather's been here. Don't tell me you just came to the land and you're so excited and so dynamic. You're a liar. How can you say kivati? You've been here for generations. Answer.
Mandate's always you.
The LA Times, 30 years ago, has a major article about the Israelis baking in the Pacific Ocean sun. Why am I bringing that? Many Israelis, many Jews left the country 30 and 40 years ago because they didn't sense a connection to the land. And they were looking for ulterior matters, material ways of life that would be offered to them that they think is better than living here with their nation. They didn't merit really to continue living with, they really don't understand. Here, this farmer or grower of any of the 7 fruits comes up to the Kohen, gives respect to the kahuna, has decorated doing the mitzvot and beautifying the mitzvah. And he says, here I am. It's as if I just got off the flight from Texas. I just arrived 002 from Arlington National. Is that the name of the airport? I don't know what Fort Worth National Airport, whatever. And I've just arrived. And when you just arrive, you feel the dynamics, the novelty. It's something special. In other words, another important principle of this commandment is the expression before the Kohen that you sense, you the farmer, as if you just, I'm here. Kivati, I just came, I just arrived. The land of Israel for me is so dynamic, so special, even though you're right. I'm here for several generations. My great-grandfather's been here. He was one of the pioneers. But it's as if I just arrived. Kivati, I just came. Here I am. I've come to the land that God has swore to my lavotenu, latet lanu, and we'll continue with this, God willing, tomorrow. Be'ezrat Hashem.